All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack one of the most frustrating, painful, and honestly universally common paradoxes of the human experience. We're looking at the fascinating psychology of people who dream incredibly big but do absolutely nothing. If you're looking to finally bridge that gap between your massive ambitions and your real-world execution, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to decode your brain's hidden resistance and build a real, practical guide to replacing endless planning with actual action. So picture this. Have you ever met someone who constantly talks about these huge, game-changing dreams? They talk about massive success, accumulating wealth, or just stepping into a completely different life. They can describe this future to you in vivid detail, they see it clearly, and honestly, they genuinely believe they're capable of it. But then months go by, years go by, and somehow absolutely nothing actually changes in their reality. Maybe that person is a friend, a coworker, or hey, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, maybe that person is sometimes you. And that brings us right to the core tension we're breaking down today. It's this massive, gaping canyon between imagined success and actual progress. We naturally assume that having a clear vision is the spark for progress. But the source material we're analyzing today reveals that sometimes that vivid imagination actually becomes a trap that keeps you rooted exactly where you are, achieving absolutely nothing. Now, if you only take one thing away from the first half of this explainer, let it be this right here. Psychology says this is not just laziness. Society loves to slap the lazy label on people or call it a lack of character. But the science proves that this paralysis isn't a moral failing at all. It's actually the result of a series of deeply ingrained, super sneaky cognitive traps that your own brain sets for you. You don't lack ambition. Your brain is just playing tricks on you. And the great news is, once we understand these 6 psychological traps, we can totally outsmart them. Okay, let's break down trap number 1. There's a huge disconnect between what the brain feels and reality. When you just imagine success, your brain releases a little hit of satisfaction. It literally feels a sense of achievement just from the thought itself. You get a false dopamine hit. Because your brain feels like it's already accomplished something, you confuse thinking with actual progress. And what happens next? It completely destroys your urgency to take action. It's like feeling full without having taken a single bite of food. Moving right along to trap number 2, the perfection trap. This is where fear of failure puts on a really clever disguise. The ambitious procrastinator doesn't actually lack drive. They possess a paralyzing fear of trying and failing, which brings us to a really painful truth. As long as you don't try, your dream is still perfect. Think about the gravity of that for a second. Staying safely in the planning phase actively protects your self-image. If you never launch the business or write the book, your potential remains flawless. Actually taking action means risking failure, and risking failure means risking that pristine illusion. So the brain chooses the safety of the perfect daydream over the messy reality of trying. All right, trap number 3. I know I fall for this one. Waiting for the right moment. We constantly tell ourselves we just need to read one more book, take one more course, wait until the timing is just right. But the reality? Readiness usually comes after action, not before. Psychology completely debunks this myth of the perfect moment. The feeling of being ready is actually a byproduct of starting. If you wait for the perfect time, you'll literally be waiting forever. Action generates readiness, plain and simple. Next up is trap number 4, and it's a heavy one: mental exhaustion. This is the steep price of overthinking. Your brain analyzes every single variable so deeply that by the time you're supposed to actually execute, it's essentially run a marathon, and it's ready for a nap. So you do nothing. You spent 100% of your energy visualizing all the possible outcomes, leaving absolutely 0% in the tank for the actual work. Which beautifully sets up trap number 5, the identity mismatch. This is a huge deal. Your brain will actively fight any action that doesn't match how you view yourself. Someone might have these incredibly grand dreams, but secretly, deep down, they're telling themselves, I'm just not a disciplined person, or I never finish what I start. If that's your secret identity, you are going to constantly struggle to act. Taking action requires you to become someone completely different, and the brain absolutely hates that kind of internal conflict. And our final trap, number 6, reveals where all our attention actually goes. We dedicate a massive slice of our mental energy to the excitement of just talking about our potential. It feels amazing. It gives you a sense of future success right now. But we leave practically nothing for the slow, uncomfortable, real-world effort. We become hopelessly addicted to our potential because it's exciting. Real progress, though, It's repetitive, it's slow, it's usually boring. So instead of doing the boring work, we stay hooked on the exciting idea of who we could be. Let's do a super quick recap of these 6 psychological hurdles. 1. Confusing thinking with progress. 2. Fear of failure disguised as planning. 3. Waiting for that mythical right moment. 4. Mental exhaustion from overanalyzing. 5. An identity misaligned with your goals. And 6. An absolute addiction to potential over effort. Seeing them all lined up like this simulates just how overwhelming an overactive, planning-obsessed mind can be. It's a minefield. But recognizing these traps is exactly how we dismantle them. So let's shift gears. We've diagnosed the problem. Now let's talk about escaping the potential trap and building some serious real-world momentum. Here are the actionable habits we can pull directly from the psychology to flip the script. First, you've got to act before you feel ready, because again, readiness follows action. Second, embrace the slow, uncomfortable grind. Stop chasing the cheap dopamine hit of the grand vision and learn to sit with the boring reality of the daily work. Third, actively push back against your mind's resistance. When your brain says you aren't disciplined, act anyway to rewrite that secret identity. And lastly, risk your self-image. You have to be totally willing to look a little foolish today if you want to look like a genius next year. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Having big dreams isn't rare at all, but turning them into reality, that is. The difference between the dreamer and the doer isn't some magical, innate talent. It's just the ability to act. It's that raw willingness to push through your brain's deep-seated resistance, to ignore the false satisfaction of daydreaming, and to just put one foot in front of the other, even when the work is tedious. Which brings us to one final, really provocative question to leave you with today. Are you going to stay addicted to who you could be, or are you ready to face who you are right now? It's a stark choice. You can keep protecting that perfect illusion of your dreams, or you can abandon the comfort of planning and step into the messy, brilliant reality of execution. The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and I hope you use this to start building your real-world momentum today.